everyone, this is Teresa with the A-Team and Transformation, and today I want to talk about my experience of living in Los Angeles and why I left. I noticed that these videos on YouTube are really popular, and so I wanted to talk about my experience and the drawbacks of LA. There's lots of positives about Los Angeles and California, but there are definitely drawbacks. So I wanted to give you my perception, my experiences, and some of the reasons why I left. So I'm really going to touch on the people and the culture, mainly as like the drawbacks of Los Angeles. So let's just get right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is how transient the city of Los Angeles is. You don't really meet a lot of people that are actually from LA. You meet a lot of people that moved to Los Angeles to make it, right? So they want to be an actor, a producer, a director, a writer, singer, dancer, choreographer, right? And so if it's not that, then it's something in the entertainment industry or like something very celebrity, celebrity driven or focused. So for example, it could be a makeup artist to a celebrity, a hairstylist to a celebrity. It could be a personal trainer to a celebrity, a nanny to a celebrity, a house sitter to a celebrity. So that's all people talk about, right? It's who I met, who I know, who I'm going to meet. You feel like you can't really get out of that kind of like bubble of this obsession of fame and being a celebrity. Which leads me to my next topic is because it is very, very transient, it's hard to meet people as far as deep, kind of more meaningful friendships. So you're going to meet a lot of people. It's very, very easy to meet people. Very easy to meet people. People are always networking. People are always out and about. It's nice all year round. I had a lot of acquaintances. Like, I felt like there were more acquaintances. Like, you are constantly meeting people, but as far as friendships sticking, that's different. It's like there's this joke about like, you have to find a new friendships or new tribe every 6 months because people are constantly in and out, right? So if you go there, you find out maybe 2 months, 6 months, 2 years down the road, it's not for you, and then they leave. And so there's this constant in and out of the city, because of why they moved there. So there's this feelings of your life's kind of like having to parallel in a sense for it to actually stick, meaning like, I live in Santa Monica, they live in Santa Monica, I'm married, they're married, I have dogs, they have dogs, I have, kids, they have kids, it's like it almost has to like parallel for it to really actually like stick, and then another thing with friendships there in LA is it's very transactional. So because of, again, why, we have to go back to why people are moving there. So people are there to obviously make it, and they're obviously very invested. They left their hometown, they only have so much money to their name, right? So people are always kind of like scouring the room and saying, okay, who can help me? Who can I meet that can help me? Or I'm going to be friends with this person because they have an agent that I really want, right? So it becomes like this very transactional city with everything. It's your personal life and your business life are like bleeding in together. It's not separate whatsoever. It's not like if you're in Omaha, Nebraska, and you go to a business networking meeting and that's what you would do there. You talk to the person in the room that could help you. But that never ends in LA. It never ends in Los Angeles. So what happens is you start feeling like your friendships aren't as very deep or genuine, because it is so transactional and because that's so valued there. It's a city where it's extremely ambitious, very, very driven, and so of course you're super invested in why you move there, which again makes sense, but that's the drawback is the friendship and the connection part. It's I go back to like Tony Robbins, and he talks about the 6 human needs, right? And one is variety and certainty, and then variety and significance and connection and growth and contribution. And I always say that LA, it's very significance driven, but connection is last. It almost reminds me of like, kind of like The Bachelor or Bachelorette, where you know, they go there, they say, you know, I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to fall in love. You know, that's LA. It's a very, very competitive city. And so that part of your life, I feel like, kind of gets left out in the cold, you know? So also, you know, there's a kind of a joke about like having to like, you know, meet new friends every like 6 months in LA, you know, or find a new tribe every 6 months. And, you know, people are always like, my best friend is in, you know, Colorado, or my best friend is Las Vegas, or my best friend, you know, is New York. And it's like, why is no one's best friend here? You know, why is no one's best friend here? It's like, oh yeah. So, so I kind of touched on this, but again, very, very spread out. Oh my gosh, LA is very, very spread out. And, you know, that's like with any, you know, big city, but what happens is because it's so spread out, your personal life starts feeling like a job, right? It starts feeling like a job. Why is this feeling like a job? Okay, well, it's not like another town where it's like a couple 100,000 people or 300,000 people, where if you want to, you know, have friends, if you want to make meet up with friends, you just go to downtown, right? That's generally the place where you go, where all the restaurants, bars are. You go downtown. There's like a million places to go in LA, like so many places, right? So if you, for example, let's say I live in West Hollywood, which I did. Let's say my job's in Santa Monica, which it wasn't, but let's just say that. And so my commute is from West Hollywood to Santa Monica, okay? So my coworker, let's say she lives in South Bay, which is like 20, 25 miles south of LA. It's all these like beach towns, Manhattan Beach, Hermosa, Redondo. So let's say, which is, just pause that for a second. It's very, very, I know this may sound funny to some people, but it's very normal to make friends, I mean, to make plans with somebody like a month later, like literally like a month later. Because now for some people that may sound funny based on where you're at, but again, you have to remember that big cities, especially like, I lived in New York, LA, and Chicago, and LA, I would say, is hands down number one, is the most driven and ambitious out of all of them, is that they just don't have a 9-to-5 job, and then they're free, you know, and then they have their free time. They have maybe a 9-to-5 job, and then they're trying to start a business, and they're also going to school. These are very, very ambitious, driven people, okay? So again, connection is last, right? So going back to it being very spread out. So I commute to Santa Monica. I have a coworker. She lives in, let's say, Hermosa Beach, right? Okay, so we want to, you know, hang out, right? We want to hang out maybe on the weekends, or, you know, whatever. We have to find like a midpoint, right? Okay, so it's starting, like, friendships in your personal life are starting to feel like a job, okay? So, you know, you have a friend maybe over the hill, you know, which is the San Fernando Valley or somewhere. So it's like, okay, you know, we got to find our midpoint, and they got to find, you know, so now it's like, okay, I got to drive 20, 25 miles. Okay, so, you know, now I drive my 20 miles. Okay, so now I gotta find parking. Now I'm finding parking. Now, okay, now I found parking. Okay, so now I gotta walk 6 blocks. Okay, I walked 2 blocks. I forgot my taser in my car. I gotta walk back 2 blocks. Okay, now I gotta walk the full 6 blocks. So it starts feeling like a job. Okay, it starts feeling like a job. This is no, like, it's hard. It's very hard to stay. And like, you wouldn't have a life if you stayed like in your little 5 to 10 mile radius in a place like LA. So what happens is you start like resenting the city, you know, you start resenting the city. So that's that. I'll move on from that. The next thing is, okay, so California, I think this is a California thing, definitely an LA thing, but I think this is a California thing too. We kind of believe that this is the only place where like life is happening. Right? We believe this is where, like, okay, we got the beach, we got the mountains, Vegas is 4 hours away, San Diego's 2 hours away, we got San Francisco. Like, we feel like this is the only place like life is happening, right? We're very progressive. Entrepreneurship is here. Lots of entrepreneurs. You got people that are super resourceful, lots of resources, you know, beauty, health, very health conscious, best vegan restaurants, you know. Okay, to give you an example. So, what comes with that is a bit of narcissism, as we have all the solutions. So it's this kind of mentality of like, I meditate, I'm vegan, I recycle. What is she wearing? It's that kind of like false depth. And I say that because everything is so externally driven, so externally focused. I mean, how deep can you really be if that's what gets you approval? It's who you know, how much money you have, what clothes you have, what car you drive, where you live, do you have a movie theater in your apartment, for crying out loud? So like it's just very, very externally driven. And even spiritual teachers that can read the energy of a city, of the collective, will tell you, like, if you want connection, run the opposite direction of LA. So it's having to put that city in its proper place or proper perspective, I guess. And again, it's like, just as an example, you grow up in a family, and there's certain a family unit, there's certain things that get you approval in that family, right? There's certain things that are really good and really bad, right? Or this is what gets you approval, this doesn't get you approval, right? So let's say, for example, in a family, B's are not allowed. You are going to get straight A's, you are going to become a physician, or in another family, it's a very religious family, right? So we value, in this family, you're going to go to church every Sunday, you're going to recite the 10 Commandments, and you're going to keep your legs closed until you get married, right? So that's what we value. That's what gets you approval in this family. Another family, it could be, it's a military family from the South, and it's yes ma'am, no sir, be on time, everything's organized, and everything has a place, okay? Now, let's say if LA was a person or a family unit, what gets you approval in LA, it's like, if this is the message. This is the message of LA, okay? If you're not rich, famous, and beautiful, you should just go cry in a corner. Like, that's the message of LA, okay? So, let's see, what else do I have to say about that? I think that's it. Okay, so, which leads me to my next subject is, it's very, very emotionally unavailable, which would kind of make sense if it's so externally driven, right? And what I mean by emotionally unavailable, or there's a term, I don't know if you've ever heard the term of toxic positivity. That's LA. Now, it would make sense when it's so externally focused, so externally driven, what you have, what you do, entrepreneurship, which is great. I mean, a lot of that is fantastic, but if you make something so good, you also have to make something so bad. So it makes it, or that city or that person, not a very integrated city or person. And what I mean by that is, like, so let's say, I'll give you an example. So let's say there's a bunch of friends, you all go out, and there is a man there, and he lost his job. Okay, so instead of just saying everything's great, everything's blah blah blah, I had a great day, he's honest, he's vulnerable, interchangeable, honest vulnerability. So he says, man, today wasn't good. Like, I lost my job. I really liked my job. It's so disappointing. It paid really well. This is what someone in LA would do. Okay, this is LA. This is LA for you. It makes sense why someone doesn't want to be honest or vulnerable. It makes sense why you can't really connect with people or get to know someone, because this is what you're met with when you're honest. This is what someone in LA does. So he's like, oh, I lost my job. I'm disappointed. Oh my gosh, like, oh, that sucks. Well, I mean, you always want to start a business, right? Like, now's a great time to start your business. Like, you really want to start a business, right? Like, now's a great time, right? Like that's like what you're met with. It's like that toxic positivity where it's, when I look at you, I feel bad, and I don't want to feel bad. It's like, what happened to you makes me uncomfortable, So you're met with that, right? So it's getting past that wall, because that's consistently what you're met with. That it makes sense why people would do that. It makes sense why people would be like, everything's great, everything's awesome, la la la, my life's amazing. That's LA, because people are very they're not capable. Well, I don't want to say they're not capable, because they are, but they're uncomfortable. It's like, my situation makes you uncomfortable. It's kind of goes back to that, like, people in LA aren't flaky, in my opinion. It's more selfish. They're taught to be selfish, and because of why they're there. But it's, you know, it's, I mean, if you look at the homeless population, right, in LA, even before the pandemic, you know, the city, in my opinion, lacks empathy. You know, it lacks empathy, it lacks compassion. That's one of the reasons why I left. You got all these entrepreneurs and all these people that are so resourceful and have all this money. I mean, at one time, California, I believe, had the most millionaires in any state, and then Texas was second. And, you know, you can't, like, help out. Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Like, I remember one time being in the valley, and it was like 5 or 6 o'clock, and there's all these cars driving by, and there's this woman just, you know, on the sidewalk crying, you know, and all these people driving by, and like no one's stopping, and everyone's in their own world and in their own universe, and I gotta meet this person, I gotta make my next million or whatever. And, you know, I was like, that's so sad. And I drove around, and I stopped and I said, hey, are you okay? Like, is everything okay? You know, it to me, it's just, I don't know, that really started getting to me. And like, just to give you another just quick example of that, and this is a very small example, but I remember going to a meetup group in Beverly Hills, and it was around the holiday season, and everyone was dressed up. It was a really fun evening. But the evening that started out the greatest, not that big of a deal, but I had dropped my cell phone, on the hardwood floor of this like hotel, and it was like all these like cracks in my phone, you know. And there was a woman that saw the whole thing, like she was there, and so I pick up my phone and I say, damn it, like, why did I do that? Like, oh, you know. And she was like, she did the same thing to me. She was like, well, you can still use your phone, right? I mean, well, you can still text, right? I mean, you can still call, right? Like, like what happened to me made her uncomfortable, you know? It's, you know, after you get past the whole, what's your name, what you do, where you live, you hit a wall with people in LA. Like, you hit a wall, right? So that's what I'm talking about, is that toxic positivity, which is great in certain situations, not so great in other ones, right? Not great for like really connecting with people. This reminds me of like this joke of, like, if you ever watch celebrity roasts, and there's this one of James Franco, and Jonah Hill makes a joke about James Franco at the very end, and he says something like, you know, he's like, I've known you for 10 years and I'm still pretty sure I've never met you before. Like, that's LA. Like, that is Los Angeles. I'm telling you, that is LA. So lots of positives about LA, lots of positives about California. I'm going to link a video down below about, you know, the pros of LA, because I think you'll also find that very interesting. And I'm also I want to talk about dating, right? I wanted to talk about dating, but I also wanted to make sure this video was under 20 minutes. I didn't want it to be too long. So I'm going to make a video about dating, because I think people will find that entertaining and interesting. So I hope this video was engaging, entertaining. I hope you learned a few things about LA that maybe you didn't know. And I hope the people from LA maybe found this to be kind of funny and entertaining as well. Yeah, so if you like this video, please hit the like button. Also subscribe to my channel if you would like to support this channel. There's also links below. And thank you so much for watching.